Здравствуйте, уважаемые.
Hello, dear colleagues. Today, we are continuing the work of our conference as part of temporary exposition of Russian Pavilion at Dubai Expo. And today the subject is patent analytics. To understand where to progress in terms of technological and innovative developments, certainly we need to possess the full scope of knowledge and information about what has been implemented worldwide and other prospective designs. All of these answers are answered. All of these questions are answered by Patent Analytics today. Our event is hosting the heads of two patent authorities, the president of Eurasian Patent Office, Grigory Ivlev, and the head of Intellectual Property Authority from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Abdulaziz Mohammed Al Svalema. Dear Mr. Abdulaziz Al Svalema, I will ask you to say a few words to open this session.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak Russian, so I'll start in English, and I'm glad to be here with you. We all know that intellectual property is a fundamental issue to ensure that countries are moving towards the knowledge-based economy. And without protecting the IPs and registering the IP, countries, they cannot build up the right intellectual property and the right also the economy based on the knowledge. We always differentiate between the tangible assets and intangible assets. What we do in the IB is trying to increase the value of intangible assets. Analytics is the basis of these things. Analytics is the base of utilizing the knowledge to assure that all what we have information can be utilized, used, presented, and also multiply these information to end up with much higher in-depth analytics of our information. These information will help us to identify the right direction of our research, to identify how can we spend our money in our activities, and to assure that all we spend in research will be reflected in the benefits of the humanity and the mankind. I would like to congratulate colleagues for their activities and congratulate them for building up this very interesting information and analytical activities, and wish them all the best. We signed an agreement and looking forward to activate our agreements and to assure that it will be increase our level of collaboration. My regards to all of you, and for those who are following up throughout the internet, and thank you very much giving me this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Спасибо, господин Аль-Свалем.
Thank you so much, Mr. Al-Svalema. We are truly also hoping and counting on deepening our cooperation and expanding practices of patent analytics.
Уважаемые коллеги, мы продолжаем.
Dear colleagues, we are continuing our discussion. Now, I would like to give the floor to... I have a question, by the way. We have already seen the presentation video. Yes, certainly it was played before the start. So now, let's move on to the discussions. And I'd like to give the floor to the Deputy Head of Intellectual Property, Industrial Intellectual Property Office, Mr. Selanovic. Thank you so much, dear friends. A lot has been said that patent analytics are a significant tool and a very important issue to develop the right solutions. In terms of developing management decisions in strategic vectors for scientific and technological development and many others today, this tool is becoming more and more timely and important because it allows us to cover a huge body of patent data on the latest trends, latest developments. And today, when we are reviewing the work of our government authorities, our industrial enterprises and institutions, we note that quite often they are based not just on the prospects based on world trends in terms of research and development, but from those projects and products implemented in the market, and based on this, analogs are trying to develop further activity. This is also a correct vector. However, it provides for a 5-year lag, in my opinion. So we send the message that patent analytics allow you to understand these trends and vectors of development, those interesting places, interesting spheres for implementation, and also working with patent analytics is very important in terms of advanced development. So today I'd like to wish this event all the best of luck. Our colleagues are going to present today some key issues related to patent analytics, and also I'd like to know that Rospatent is continuing its activities very serious about this sector, and interaction, as was just mentioned today, with our international partners will also allow us to scale this tool as part of our international cooperation frameworks. Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrei Selanovic. Certainly, the practice and experience of patent analytics has been developed by FIPS and Rospatent for a number of years now. Since 2016, we have seen the Project Office for Patent Analytics developed, and in that time, a lot has been achieved. A lot of research has been done. Each of these pieces of research ended with a deep and informative review. Our next speaker will give you more details, but I'd also like to note that this compilation of this research, as this volume I'm holding, is in my office as well. But people keep borrowing it. They ask me to read the book and then they don't return it, and we are forced to recover, to get more books so that I preserve the full compilation. And now I would like to invite the deputy head of our project office, Nikolai Popov. Nikolai, you have the floor. Thank you so much. Could you please pass me the clicker for the presentation slides? Thank you. Hello, dear colleagues. I'm very happy to welcome everyone at this international event. It was a great pleasure to see the head of Saudi Arabia Intellectual Property Office. And it's also especially welcoming because we are preparing for long-term cooperation with Saudi Arabian partners. We are going to host a special dedicated conference on oil chemistry. And recently there was a Rospatent visit to Saudi Arabia where we signed important agreements on this long-term cooperation. And also here in Dubai we noted that right opposite our pavilion stands the pavilion of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which is also very important, and we are soon planning to announce events to be held jointly with OIC. Right now, I'd like to tell you about FIPS, about patent analytics. I'm not going to go into more details, but if you're interested and you'd like to learn more, we will be able to give you more information on this complicated sector, on this skill, or rather an art of patent analytics. As you see, patent analytics, our logo says we call ourselves the factory for patent analytics. This process is detailed in its structure, very well documented, and when our interns come, we have a lot of interns from students doing their apprenticeships, and many of the young people who come to work with us and study, they begin with very complicated challenges. However, they also study the full structure, and students begin working on real projects we provide for the largest RF companies. Now, we already mentioned the fact that FIPS Project Office has been in existence for the last 6 years. It's a small department as part of Rospatent, an industrial property institute. We have only 15 people on staff. However, we had already successfully tackled over 50 consulting projects based on patent analytics. And also, we're constantly working on these serious projects, each of which lasts for a few months in a number of stages. We cover a number of industries. Certainly, we are able to tackle any sphere of industry. We can find the experts, professionals in the trade, and we are able to analyze and research all of the patents that belong there. For instance, pharmaceuticals, metallurgy, high-tech products, oil and gas chemistry. So all of this is working, and we can give you more practical cases about how this assists the business. Now, on patent analytics, what makes it different from any other type of analytics or other patent research? Because apart from patent analytics, there is also different research which is based on patent research. There are 3 pillars, or 3 whales, rather, of patent analytics. If any of the research you read don't have these 3, knowledge modeling, deep technical analysis, and insight-driven analytics, most likely it's not patent analytics, because patent analytics is always based on these 3 pillars. Now, the first pillar that begins any piece of research. We have around 7 or 8 analytical products which are focused on different jobs. This is not just the patent landscape, also includes others. So any research, any search in patent analytics begins on knowledge modeling. We develop domain-specific knowledge models because we have to speak the same language with the customer, like hydrocracking catalyzers. That is quite a complicated subject, and we have to speak the same language and understand what the research will contain. So we divide the sphere of interest on parts into elements. And these elements may be hundreds in a given knowledge model. And only after this domain-specific knowledge model is created and approved, we move on to the next stage. This model provides basis for data search later. And in patent analytics, it will run in terms of the World International Patent Fund, and in other research this model may be used for searching in other industries, for instance marketing, financial analysis, and others. The key point is that it is properly presented. There is no overcomplicated detalization or excessive information. Full stop. This knowledge model is created, and it is effective not just for a single piece of research, but however further, in terms of further monitoring, it will be improved and further completed. Unique models like hydro-tracking catalyzers or electric aircraft, no matter what is the area, the object of interest, we'd like to point out that we are able to decompose any area, any piece of research. And as I mentioned earlier, based on this knowledge model, we develop a quite domain-specific search strategy. As you see, there are a few search contours, key terms and classification codes, companies, and other specialized companies and others. This is quite a complicated tool because out of the whole international fund, 150 million patents, we have to find and locate, identify the relevant patents to our cases, to our industry. Usually up to 2,000 to 3,000 patents are identified, which we then begin deep analysis of. This is quite detailed analysis. And the most interesting fact is that these 3,000 patents, speaking of electric planes, will be correlated to one or more elements of the knowledge model. So we get one generalized area of patents on electric aircraft, and then approximately other 100 smaller patent collections that are relevant to each element of the model. So our research, apart from generalized, goes into specifics, hundreds or dozens of specifics. So, speaking of our research, the search runs not only on patents. We also look at open source information and non-patent literature. It allows us to gain deeper understanding of the sector, further develop the model. So our search is not limited to patents. So once we have tagged it, identified it, we begin generating these heat maps and begin the time frame mapping. As you see here, it is divided into months and years. Hydro tracking catalyzers, for instance, have different areas. The reduction in cost, improving the service time, and we begin correlating the model elements, for instance, active element cobalt. Now, it is usually patented for reducing the cost of catalyzers. So these heat maps. So we begin working on anomalies. We begin selecting these patents. Out of the 3,000, we identify those to do with an anomaly and then begin connecting the experts, patent professionals from our office, also external experts from the leading institutions of the Russian Academy of Sciences and many others. And so, for the customer, we are able to ultimately generate these insights. Now, let me tell you about deep technical analysis that I just mentioned. So hundreds of these elements are researched, and we study the knowledge model as for its diversification and using known technologies to develop new. So we read the patents, and we understand that we are working with a very complicated area. For instance, space rocket, but it contains many different modules and nodes that may be applicable in other sectors. And it is possible also that these technological solutions used for developing this rocket may be used in multiple areas, for instance, in a children's amusement park. And this also provides valuable data for the customer about further use of technical solutions that are copyrighted by them. Now, our next pillar. So once we looked into the patents and they were all tagged properly, The third pillar is insight-driven analytics. We have coined this term, and let me explain what it means. This approach means that what we do is not just provide analytical imagery and say something and explain it. This is oversimplified and doesn't provide any conclusions. However, insight-driven analytics is the case when you're able, beginning with any non-typical behavior of the model, which is based on this knowledge model, based on this first anomaly, you may run your research. For instance, for Urals wagon factory, we did a piece of research on tractors. UVZ had their model divided into management systems and transmissions. So we identified two segments. This was the case where the area didn't have to be modeled into hundreds of elements. This was too lengthy and expensive. We made two quick elements. First was the steering, the transmission, and first was the steering model. So steering and transmission. And we identified all of the elements belonging to each. We saw that the steering models are booming in development, and hence the vector of research will focus on these steering systems. So this is what this insight-driven analytics are all about. Usually it fits into the 4 steps. First is identifying an anomaly. Thirdly, what does it mean from the business POV? Because we speak to the customer using his language of his business lingo, and sometimes the customers find scientific formulas difficult to read. They're going to speak the lingo of their own R&D strategy or innovative development programs. So the results of this research are usually read by the heads of the departments for scientific development or R&D, and we have to use consistent terminology. Step 4, what can we recommend to the customer? Now, there is a whole area of our dedicated scenarios where we can recommend the customer, for instance, entry into certain markets, to accept or refuse certain R&D ideas or initiatives. So a number of challenges and jobs are catalogued, described, and also tagged with scenarios on Q&As that are usually questions usually asked by customers using their terminology. The 4 products we created worldwide and in the Russian Federation, first of all, is the domain-specific patent landscape. Also, patent technology intelligence and survey. So not just the patent, but all of the technologies worldwide are identified, and then we tag it with patents, with open source articles. Third is the R&D entourage. This is quite a quick piece of research about R&D prioritization. For instance, a company receives 100 or 200 offers on R&D, and they have to select the most viable vectors. Our quick research provides recommendations. For instance, this will allow the companies to make informed decision on whether to invest specific funds, or these technologies are as simple as to be sold on AliExpress. So, and are not worth investing into. So this provides effective information. And fourth is the patent portfolio analysis. For instance, a large company has 2,000 patents. They're not sure which are valuable, which could be exported to other markets, and others where it's not even worth paying the stamp duty because they're not very valuable. However, other patents may have strong technical solution behind it, but the patent is improperly documented and registered. So we have to look into it, analyze it, and point our customers the right way. Now, we are continue expanding the spectrum of solutions and are constantly listening to the customer. So we are working with large corporations, and then a number of regional programs have also been prepared for the regions. I'm hoping we will continue developing cooperation with Novosibirsk, Yakutia regions, Yakutia, 5G, other networks, so we conduct so this is like patent intelligence. So we calculate the power index for each technologies. So, for instance, the index in energy business, we identify technologies that have to be bought or sold today, and which in 10 years. So the elements of foresight are being identified. These products have already been identified, tried, and tested. We can tell you about specific projects, for instance, that we did for Russia Railways on scouting technologies. So we can tell our customers on best countries where to go to for patent registration. For instance, the customer comes with a technology and identifies 12 countries, but we tell them, look, we can advise you a few others. And for instance, US is one of these. This is very important in terms of patent viability. So I'm going to wrap up on this point. And I'd like to further note that it's a great pleasure to speak at this important platform, and the fact that we are preparing now for May event that will host Kazan Summit, Russia and Islamic world, and we are hoping to invite Organization of Islamic Cooperation, 57 member countries. We are hoping at least half of these countries will attend. We are now actively working with OIC. They have a dedicated department for science and technology. And also there is a special Committee on Science and Technology, COMSEC, in Islamabad, in Pakistan, and we are hoping to also run a joint educational event together with them. And taking the opportunity, I'd like to invite everyone to Kazan Summit, 19th, 20th of May. It's called Russia and the Islamic World, that is going to host many countries, members of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, where we are going to further discuss patent analytics. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikolai. And indeed, I want to say that we get very well prepared for the event in May. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, at this site of our pavilion, we discussed it once again with the representative of Russia in the IOC, Ramazan Abdulatipov. And today he has left already. He's not present at this section. Nevertheless, the previous 2 days we discussed very thoroughly our interaction on Kazan event and our support for further cooperation in Islamabad. In Islamabad, the Department of IOC is located in charge of the scientific and in charge of scientific cooperation. Actually, in 2021 and this year we have strengthened our activities in the market of patent analytics. In October and November, we had a very serious conference on site of the Sirius University. Everybody was saying in Sochi, but Sirius is a separate federal territory. And also this year in November, we plan to hold a conference there dedicated to the problems of patent analytics. We will share our experience there, and of course we invite all participants to learn from them. Colleagues, this year also we are going to have a number of other events in Russia, and there we will hold presentations on patent analytics. And by the way, talking about Sirius University, FIPS opened a separate rep office at the premises of Sirius University, and we will be working with our potential customers, Sirius residents, on the patent analytics topic. So these are our plans, and our practice is quite in demand. And it is demanded not only by the business community, but also while developing the federal economic programs, targeted programs. We also participate in these programs and projects, and we give the information for the strategic planning. Colleagues, we are through now with our list of speakers, because at this session, we do not go into detail. And our pavilion at the World Expo presents the whole set of the information on patent analytics. If there are any questions or somebody wants to make a statement, the microphone is available. And well, if there are no questions, I want to finish this session with the video that was had been put on the screen at the very beginning of our session. And this video explains very in detail how the patent analytics works. Also, I want to announce that today at 5 p.m. we are going to have a new event. This event will be held by the Russian Organization of Inventors and Innovators, and I invite everyone to participate at this new event at 5 o'clock. And now the video, please.